Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and I want to talk to you today about video game endings. Now, there are only a very few video game endings that I would consider to be absolutely legendary. In fact, it's hard enough for a developer to craft a game that will see us get through to the finish line at all, let alone it be actually any good. But time and time again, there have been games that have arrived on the scene with all the power and force of a juggernaut, only to get to the end and hit with all of the force of a whiffed punch that goes and hits a baby on its soft spot, aka an absolute PR nightmare. So let's look at some of them today. With this in mind, I'm Jules of WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video games that butchered brilliant endings.
But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done.
Number 8, Demon's Souls. Yeah, the final boss of Demon's Souls is this guy. A slug man with a greatsword just stapled to his face. Yeah, a bit anticlimactic that, wasn't it? Now I know what you're going to be typing, that it was meant to be anticlimactic, that through the lore you learn about the former king and how this is what he's become. I get it, it's meant to draw an emotional response, but my retort to that is, does it? We spend the entire game looking forward to the prospect of fighting the old one and are presented with this. Now, if the quest had been to find out what happened to King Allant, then that would actually work better, but unfortunately this is not what we were told nor what we were promised. So yeah, bit of a rubbish ending to an otherwise fantastic game. I look forward to receiving your hateful messages down below. You're welcome. Didn't even do the proper duel bow there. That's how little I think of you. Number 7, God of War 2. So let me get this straight. The whole point of this game is to kill Zeus. Yes. And in God of War 2, you start the game by being beaten up by Zeus. Yes. And you get to the end of the game and you get beaten up by Zeus. Yes. Then what's the fucking point? I get it, it's number 2 in a clear trilogy, but surely ending the game any other way than how you started the game would have been better. It didn't even need a nuanced ending, it just needed you smashing the absolute out of something. That's what God of War is. However, what we got in many ways was rather disappointing. The basic fundamentals of storytelling state that there should be at least some progression, even if this is clearly part of a trilogy. Yet it ends on a massive cliffhanger that, again, does set up the sequel, but this sort of baiting makes the action of the game feel rather cheap. Again, the game was great, but the ending was absolutely naff. Number 6, Assassin's Creed. Along with many, I bloody hate Desmond. I am all about jumping back in time and slaying dudes and sprinting over rooftops and diving improbable heights into hay bales, but I am not about this whiny, goddamn tech man. I genuinely wouldn't care if they had just dropped any pretense and just said, it's a simulation, you're an assassin, have fun. For example, the story of Altair ended perfectly. It was set up so well and ended with a satisfying punch. That's where the game should have ended. But good old Desmond decided to show up again, and it wasn't meaningful, and it slowed the pace of the game to a goddamn crawl. It would have been great if old Des had learned some skills and used them to take out Abstergo, but none of that happened. It was just like one of your mothers swallowing one of my content outputs. An absolute waste of potential. Here's my one per list. I miss my little guys. Number 5, Bioshock. They had one of possibly the best endings in video games, and they ruined it. Everyone knows the twist. It's the twist that defines gaming. Beating Andrew Ryan across the head with a golf club, all the while listening to the reveal of what the story had actually been about, was perfect. With a little tweaking, this could have been the best ending to the video game, but then we got an example of what happened when Ken Levine gave way to studio pressure, when it basically turned from being a story-driven narrative game to an all-out shooter. The boss fight against Atlas is just so by the numbers. Waves of enemies, 3 stages to defeat him, and it just felt like the exact opposite to the ending that Andrew Ryan instigated. It's one of my favorite games of all time! And I still get annoyed about this moment. Number 4, Shadow of Mordor. It's a quick time boss. It's Dark Lord Sauron. Produced to Bone Prompts. That is not what we were promised. You've taken one of literature's most famous and threatening villains, eponymous to evil and one of the most badass Dark Lords out there, and turned him into a quick-time event. We spent hours building a character, getting to know them, leveling up their stats, getting new equipment, doing all these extra challenges, all for this to be boiled down to a moment that if you were having a cup of tea or chomping on a cheese sandwich, You get pounded to a pulp. Brilliant stuff. Not good storytelling, not a good boss. Number 3, Fallout New Vegas. Now, this really could have applied to Fallout 3 as well, but Fallout New Vegas is greater in sin for having known what Fallout 3 did with their ending and deciding to replicate it. You know what I'm talking about, that you go through all the way through the Hoover Dam mission to change the face of the Mojave forever, and then you're told that it's through cutscenes that things happen, and then you end the game. All of the fighting, manipulating, and endless quests, the battle for Hoover Dam, it all led us towards a poignant question: what will happen next? Well, the answer to that was a cutscene and the inability to explore the world after this battle. The fans had already chastised Fallout 3 for pulling the same shit, so here it was even worse. Plus, this battle would have genuinely affected the fate of the Mojave, and it would have been so interesting to see what would have happened. But we got absolutely shafted. Number 2, Batman Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight just ruined its great ending. The setup could have been leading to something amazing. The showdown with Batman effectively going up against himself could have been brilliant. But then, again, it was another just trigger the animation scene. Getting a bit sick of these. What was meant to be their version of Mr. Freeze just ended like a damp squib. There was no intense battle, just a reveal that either you'd guessed from the very beginning or were just very disappointed with because the game did nothing with it. It was all just very Scooby-Doo. It's just whip off the mask, gasp, roll the credits. And the worst thing was that if you wanted to get the secret ending, you had to get all of the Riddler trophies. You can take your fucking Batmobile and shove it up your Batcave. And number 1, Deus Ex Human Revolution. Deus Ex had spent all of this time crafting a perfect tale of morality and ethics. And it boiled down to buttons in a line with no moral consequences. You would literally just press a button, reload your save file, press the other one, reload your save file, press the other one, just to see what all the endings were. There was no outcome to it. It was so disappointing. Great game up until that point. I was fuming. This hurt me more than the Mass Effect 3 ending, which was going to be on this list. But I put this one here instead because everyone talks about how, oh, it'll just boil down to blue, green, this. This was worse, in my opinion. I've got nothing constructive to say about it. Don't even cut to footage. This is it. This is the ending of it. Ending of the list. Here we go. Jules being angry. Brilliant. Now I've got to go back to my fucking son, Ewan. I'll probably take out my anger on him now. You happy with yourself? I'm not. Well, yeah. And there we have it. Those were 8 brilliant video games that just butchered their endings. Let me know what you thought about them down in the comments section below. And if you like what you've heard, then why not check out this from That Film Theory. It's on who was really human at the end of the thing. It's a little voiceover that I've done, just something a bit different, talking about film theories and stuff. And on this side, you can go over to the wrestling channel where I also haunt because I am the ghost at the feast, constantly eating, where I did a video on 10 gimmick matches that will never be seen again. Ooh. Don't know why I'm haunting that one. Anyway, as always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.